For any of you guys who don't know me yet, my name is Zach. I'm 21 years old, and at 20, I was able to move out here to Puerto Rico, and I'm pretty much financially free. I pretty much got to the point in my life where I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and that's what I call rich. So I'm basically going to be making this video just telling you guys my exact story from where I was when I had graduated high school to now, which is only a 3-year span. A little over 3 years ago is when it all started. As soon as I had graduated high school, I knew for a fact that I didn't want to go to college, and I was just going to go anyway because my parents had told me to do so. I had horrible habits. I had told myself that I'm not going to get a job and I'm just going to enjoy my last summer. I ended up enjoying that summer by mainly just smoking weed and doing pretty much nothing because I had surgery on my left knee. I had torn my ACL, so there was pretty much nothing else for me to do except for sit in a chair and smoke weed with all my friends all summer. Once my knee had recovered a little bit, I ended up picking up the first job that I can get once summer kind of ended, and that was working at a children's playground called La La Land. I was the oldest kid there at 18 years old, and everybody else was getting their first job at 16. I just knew I didn't fit in, and I was only working that job just to start making money since I had no money because I decided to smoke weed all summer. Around that time, I had like $1,500 to my name. I was working like 30 to 40 hours a week, just scraping as much hours as I could to make money. And in my free time, all I would do was hit the gym and just smoke weed. Still, my habits were horrible. Although around that time, Andrew Tate really started blowing up, and I knew I was meant for so much more, and I knew I did not want to go to college, and I knew I wanted to become a millionaire. I just didn't know how. The more I had watched Andrew Tate on social media, the more other entrepreneurs were coming up on my feed and basically telling me that college was a scam, I shouldn't be going, and that I can get rich doing so many other things like making money online. Mind you, college was starting up in the next month or so. So in the back of my mind, I was dreading going to college. I knew I didn't want to be there, but I just still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, so I ended up going to college. During that period of time, I was still working at the children's playground. I was honestly cheating and skipping most of my work, still smoking weed almost every single day, 2 to 3 times a day. I got to the point where I was so fed up with just being complacent and being my old self that I knew in the back of my mind that I needed to leave my whole entire life behind, the smoking weed, the making $11 an hour at La La Land, a children's playground where I'm the oldest guy there. And I knew for a fact that college wasn't for me and it was not going to allow me to hit my goals of becoming a multi-millionaire. So after the first semester, this is around January, got so stressed out over writing yet again another essay, I had gone downstairs and told my mom, look mom, I can't do this anymore. I'm literally having a panic attack. They made me buy this book called They Say, I Say or whatever, and I bought the wrong book, so the prompt was just wrong and I was freaking out. I love my mom so much for this. She pulled the trigger and said, Zach, I don't want you to go to college anymore. It seems like you're wasting your time and I don't want to see you unhappy. The second she told me that, my whole mindset switched. Everything changed about myself. Now that I wasn't in college anymore, I ended up quitting my job at La La Land and just rewriting my whole entire life. I knew I wanted to get into trading like crypto or stocks, so me and my best friend Matt Niketic, we decided to do Iman Gotzi's monk mode, where we let go of all our bad habits, no social media, nothing. Just straight work and focusing on one goal, which for us that was trading. For the next 3 months, I didn't do anything but sit in my room and study one skill and get rid of all my bad habits to start getting a step closer to becoming the multi-millionaire and living the dream life I always wanted to. After the 2 months of me doing monk mode, I had left all my bad habits behind and I was so focused on achieving my goals, there was nothing stopping me. I knew my next step was to get a job that was the highest pay that I could get without a college degree. And at that time, I was working at a call center where you can make $17 an hour, and if you made more money in commission, you would just get paid out your commission. My 2 best friends, Patrick and Gabe, they had set up their interview and told me, yo, set up your interview for the same time. I knew in the back of my head, the way I was so dependent on other people my whole life, especially just growing up, honestly, in a very nice home with my parents together in Boca Raton, Florida. Wanted to do something by myself. I knew I needed to build independence. So I set up my interview at a different date than they did, knowing that I may not get put in the same type of group, taking the chance that I could be selling a different source of internet and being by myself than where they were. That was the best decision I have ever made in my entire life. I ended up getting put in a different group and I met 2 of my best friends still today, Jameer and Justin. Got placed in the AT&T department. We were taking phone calls, selling AT&T in a call center. All 3 of us ended up being the top sales guys and it was like friendly competition, and I actually started making a decent amount of money for the first time in my entire life. I ended up getting my biggest paycheck, which was like $2,360 on the dot within 2 weeks. So I pretty much averaged $1,300 a week, which for me was really good, and honestly, it was the best out of the whole entire department. The competition in me went to Justin and went to Jameer and was like, yo, look at my paycheck, what did you guys get paid? When I went to Justin, he told me he completely quit, and he ended up doing door-to-door sales and made $2,500 in his first week. In my head, I was like, dude, that's $10,000 a month. Mind you, he's Colombian and barely speaks English, so in my head, I'm like, if this kid can go and make 2.5 in his first week doing door-to-door sales, whatever that is, I can do it. Within a week, me and Jameer ended up quitting that exact same job and joining him in the door-to-door sales. Time we were selling like HVAC systems, and honestly, I got eaten up and spit out in my first week on the doors. I didn't know how to pitch, I had no confidence in myself, and I was mainly just there to obviously make good money and just to prove to myself that I can do something by myself by just meeting brand new people. Door-to-door sales for me when I first started was the hardest thing that I ever had to do in my life, but I knew for a fact that if I could get good at it, that I wouldn't just only train my mind and train my soul to be able to do things that were hard, I would also develop a skill where I can make a lot of money and not have to clock in. Although I ended up quitting. I lost faith in myself and I just had telling myself that this wasn't for me while Jameer and Justin stayed. My last day of knocking though, I coincidentally met one of my friends out there knocking doors for solar. I had went up to him and was like, yo, what are you doing? What are you selling? And he was like, dude, this is the best shit ever. Solar, you're getting paid at least $1,000 to $10,000 a deal. At the time when I was selling the HVAC, the max I could get was $750, and at that point, I thought that was the craziest amount of money in the world. So after I quit, I knew in the back of my mind that I couldn't just go work a normal job making hourly. I knew I couldn't just go back to a normal job. So I took another jump, I took another risk and was like, you know what, I'm gonna hit up my old friend and try to join their company to see what solar's all about. I had joined their company and it ended up just kind of all falling apart. In solar, there's a lot of just scammy and just honestly really bad things about it. After the office fell, I saw something in this guy named Lewis and Richard that I'd never really seen before in people my age. They were driven, they knew so much about sales, and they were out knocking doors, and they would help me knock on doors when I had first started with them. That ended up leading us into this company called Rack Electric, where we were selling solar for the #1 installer in all of Florida. Started off as a lead setter, and within my first 2 weeks of that new company that just started, there was probably about 75 people in that room. I was the #1 lead setter out of all the guys in there. I'd never been so hungry in my entire life to develop and become great at a skill. In my eyes, failure wasn't an option, and I was competing with Jameer and Justin in the other company. I knew for a fact if we were all in the same position that I could not let them run off and make more money than me. I used that to motivate me to go all in on this company. In my first week of working there, I ended up setting 3 leads, or I think actually 4 leads, and they all closed. 3 ended up getting canceled, but I had the very first lead set as an install. I was on my high horse at this time, right? I was like, oh, I'm the best in the company. I'm going to become rich. I knew my next step was going to becoming a closer instead of a lead setter. Until I met this one guy named Jesse. This kid named Jesse came into the company. He didn't get a deal for his first 3 weeks, but just by hearing his pitch in the meetings, I knew he was really good. And he ended up becoming a closer before I did. Ended up getting more leads closed than I did. And that literally ignited a fire in me, and I almost built resentment towards him, but I knew that I could not leave this job without becoming a closer. Ended up being a lot of problems with the company where I was almost completely tapped out. It was at a very low point in my life, and I honestly just wanted to let the whole door-to-door thing go. Again, I knew that I needed to complete what I was there for, which was becoming a closer, leading a team, and making a lot of money like every other closer was doing. Knowing that if they can do it, I can do it too. I told myself I was gonna have one more big push, and I ended up becoming a closer and having a walking close within that first month of me just switching my mindset. After that, it was history. I ended up bringing Jameer and Justin, who were also doing solar and instead of doing the HVAC, over to my company, a part of my team, which honestly, they were better closers and lead setters for me. I ended up building the best team in that whole entire company and closing a lot of deals myself. And then I started getting paid consistently around 10K months for about 3 to 4 months. During that time, I was extremely locked in. I didn't miss a single day in the gym. I finally started making money. I was at the point in my life where my physique was the best, my mind was the best, and I had more money than I had in my entire life. Until everything pretty much just came crashing down. My former bosses basically threatened to take all the money that they owed us at the time, ended up selling the company, so we were left with no bosses and just a chance that our money that we were owed was going to get to us. Around when that was happening, I wasn't super stressed because I had a lot of money saved, but I knew I wanted to master a different skill. If I could do it through door-to-door, I can do it with anything. That was the mindset I had at the time. So that's when I first dipped my toes into crypto. Roaring Kitty, if you guys don't know, he basically pumped GameStop many years ago and made millions of dollars. He came back and posted on Twitter, ended up pumping the same exact stock of GameStop and then the crypto as well. I had dumped majority of my money into that and ended up losing $15,000 to $20,000 like that. At that point, my savings was basically cut in half. I didn't really have a job anymore, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I ended up putting the rest of the money I had into this crypto called Solana and told myself that that was going to be my savings and that I was going to sell at the end of the year when crypto was going crazy, because that's what I heard of at the time. After a couple months of me not really doing much but just working out, I ended up getting back into door-to-door sales and selling fiber internet. Me and the kid named Jesse ended up becoming best friends because we were just really hard workers and we were both making a lot of money, and we actually both ended up losing a lot of the money in the GameStop at the time. He ended up starting up that fiber company where I was going to lead the biggest team. I had a lot of guys coming my way ready to work with me, and me and him both went out and in 4 days each made $2,000. So in our head we knew that this was going to be huge. And he ended up moving out of the old place he was living in and asked me if I wanted to rent an apartment with him. He told me that honestly I was scared to move out of my parents' house, but I knew I was so comfortable living in such a beautiful 2-story house with my parents where all my friends would come over and smoke that I needed to get uncomfortable. So we ended up moving into an apartment around 2 to 3 months later. As soon as we moved in, we ended up finding out that the people who we were doing the internet with were also going to take the money that we were owed from selling the fiber and the rest of the money that we were owed from solar at the time. So how great life is, as soon as I move into my apartment, which I'm paying $17.50 a month by the way, I don't have a job, I recently lost a bunch of my money months prior to crypto. Now I basically have no money liquid and all my money is still sitting in that crypto wallet with Solana. Thank God, but I ended up growing that money from around $15,000 to $20,000 to around $37,000 to $40,000 by December. Although that's where my ego fucked everything up. Because I was too stubborn just to pick up a job to pay off the bills, I ended up selling my crypto and using those profits to pay for rent, for groceries, for my girlfriend to take her out to nice dinners, and I ended up losing almost every single dollar I had at the time. During that time, it was a very dark place in my life, and I knew that I needed to rely on Jesus more. I always had a close relationship with him and ended up getting baptized right around that time I had graduated high school. But at that point in my life, I knew that there was nothing else that I needed to do but develop my relationship with God. As I did that, my relationship got better. I dropped my ego and picking up a job cleaning windows. I was cleaning windows for about 4 months, honestly hating it, slaving my ass off, and just making enough money to be able to pay off my rent and some of my bills at the time. Even me just working there, my life slowly started to get better. I was so sick and tired of working in the window cleaning, I was just praying to God that something was going to come to me and I could just get out of the situation from living paycheck to paycheck. I had started to get back into crypto when coincidentally my best friend Jesse made $65,000 within under an hour. As soon as he did that, my mind literally completely switched focus and I knew all I wanted to do was become rich through crypto, and that's how I was going to make all my money. If my best friend could do it, I can do it. The same thing with the solar. At the same time, I was presented an opportunity to sell football cards where my friends who I grew up with just bought brand new cars and started buying Rolexes. So I said, screw the window cleaning. I'm going to go all in on crypto and use the money from the football cards on the side to be able to pay off my rent and to be able to fund my crypto. All the money that I had at the time from the window cleaning, I had put into education. The same way that my best friend learned how to invest and made all that money, I invested the same amount of money into his mentors, which obviously became our mentors. Within my first month working at the football cards, I made $12,000. I put every single dollar into my Phantom wallet in crypto, waiting for this next high conviction long-term play coin to drop through the community I was a part of. Mind you, I had no idea when this coin was dropping out. Honestly, I didn't think it was going to drop or that coin was going to be called for like another 5 months. Ended up getting a text from my best friend saying, the coin just dropped, I think you should buy. Ended up putting $10,000 in and $2,000 for my girlfriend, and within 2 days we were up a combined total of $150,000. Obviously my mind was blown. I was literally freaking out. My roommate was up hundreds of thousands. My other best friend was up a similar amount of money we were, and the people who were just sleeping in the apartment because one of my other friends was sleeping there, we were a combined total of almost $1 million in the apartment from literally having no money. At that point, that was enough proof to kind of all of us to just understand that crypto is the future of the world, and that's where we're going to make all our money yet again. It was almost like a sign from God telling us to just go all in on crypto. Now imagine this. I was consistently making around $10,000 working in the football cards. I'm up $120,000 in my own crypto wallet. I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. All my bills are paid. I'm not in credit card debt. I have the most money I've ever had in my entire life, and my life is pretty much perfect and set. As soon as I thought that, my roommate came to me and said, Zach, It would be stupid if we continue to live in Florida because we're gonna owe at least 35 to 40% in taxes. Let's move to Puerto Rico. In my head, I was like, are you fucking crazy? My life finally just got to the point where it was okay for the first time in months. Why would I ever do something like that? But I ended up telling him yes, and within a week we booked our flight into our apartment by July 1st. The reason we moved to Puerto Rico was because of something called Act 60, where if you can buy a property here within 2 years and donate to Puerto Rico, you don't have to spend a single dollar in taxes on your short-term capital gains. So if I was up $1 million, I would owe 400 grand of taxes in these states. By just simply living in Puerto Rico, wouldn't owe a single dollar and be able to claim all that $1 million. The reason I did it anyway was because I knew for a fact if I continued to live my life comfortable, I wasn't going to get to where I needed to be. I finally got to the point in my life after months, I was comfortable, I was up a lot of money and everything was great. But I knew that in order to become successful, what everybody was telling me on the internet, I needed to take risk. And this risk was kind of blatantly obvious to me. I could save hundreds of thousands of dollars by just simply moving to Puerto Rico. And if I really wanted to take making online money serious all through crypto, it would be a no-brainer and I would have to bet on myself 100%. We needed to move into our apartment by July 1st because you need to show 6 months of residency. Everything had just ended up playing out perfectly. The point that I was in ended up going all back up to all-time highs, where I then took some profits to be able to pay off the bills, pay off my rent, do everything I needed to do to be able to live here without worrying about having to pay my rent. I also had sold my car back at home, so I had $20,000 from that. Once I got settled with things in the apartment, I ended up building my own community and building my personal brand through social media. Never was the type of guy to post on social media, and my Instagram had 450 followers. At the time of me making this video, I currently have 1,500 followers. Out of those 1,000 followers, I have onboarded at least, I think, around 8 to 10 guys to my community, and they have already started making money. And if you don't believe me, here are some testimonials of my guys a part of the community.
How you guys doing? I'm in Puerto Rico. I'd just like to let you guys know, around 2 months ago, I tapped in with Zach, okay? Before that, no money in crypto, no money in stocks. Could never make it happen. I feel like 5 times. 2 months ago, I decided to hit him up. Life change. I changed my $5,000 investment all the way up to 58 grand. If you're not tapped in.
Hey guys, this is Gabe. I tapped in with Zach 2 months ago and I was able to turn my $1,000 into $40,000. That's why I'm at the gym right now at 8 o'clock in the morning with the liberty to do whatever I want. Thank you, Zach, for putting me on.
I know that my purpose from God isn't just to make money, but it's to be able to inspire and show other people that even though they may be in a shitty position right now in their life, that if by just listening to me and the information that I give them, I can take them out of that situation and show them how to make real money. If any of you guys are interested in joining that community, just DM me the word win, comment on the video, follow my Instagram, Zachary High, ZACHARYYHIGH. I also post on TikTok, but honestly, there's just a bunch of little kids on TikTok, so I mainly focus on my Instagram. I love all you guys. Follow me on my journey. Peace out.